Zachary,
What's up, Edward?
we are back, sir.
Yeah, back and better than ever.
Say,
Or somebody says.
I don't know about are you this might be a little intimate, but are you a powder guy? Do the
Like
giblet
cocaine?
do the giblets get a little dry and little chafe action going on?
Oh, my balls. No,
Yes.
no, I
Well,
don't do anything. Dude, El Natural.
as I've gotten older and I guess fatter, my thighs create fires down below, which
Yeah.
get a little chafe action, right? I've done the powder thing. It's fine, but it's like when you're wearing boxers, it's like snow's falling out of them. It's not very pleasant.
Yeah.
My wife, love her to death, has come across something that is life changing. Guys, hell, even girls, this might be for you. Maybe your whisker biscuit's getting a little chafy down there. Boom. I don't know if you can see it. It's called
Oh,
Body Glide Body. It's like a deodorant stick for your nuts. This
that's
thing is phenomenal. Uh,
that's weird.
It is. I was very skeptical at first, but after the first application, bro, I felt like a new man. I'm gonna recommend it to anybody who's having that problem. We are unofficially sponsored by them. We're not even sponsored by them. I'm
No,
just
no,
throwing
we're
them
just
out there.
endorsing them. We're not. They're not sponsoring us. We're endorsing. Well, you are endorsing them.
Amazing product. Find it on Amazon. I think it's like $9, mess free. Um, treat your
Really?
boys. Treat your boys. They need
Dude,
it.
I don't know. Like I always feel like in between my legs, I'm just sweating profusely constantly. So like there's really no chafing. It's just kind of gliding around.
Man, it's life changing. You ready to get to the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go! Woo! What's up, everybody? Welcome to Two Wannabe Athletes Talk Sports. I'm Ed,
I'm Zach.
and we are back again for another episode. We appreciate y'all who are tuning in. First time listening, get ready for a ride because it's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
fucking bumpy.
Buckle up, bitches.
So, last time we talked about the NFC West, and we're going to move on to the NFC South, all the way on the other coast. But today I want to start off with one of the biggest topics that have happened this past week. Mr. J.J. Watt signing with the Arizona Cardinals for 2 years for $32 million.
Yeah, something 31 or 32, but guaranteed 23 million over 2 years. But
Nasty.
my favorite part about this is he swore up and down he wanted to leave the Texans. He needed his release to go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Not doing that in Arizona. Sorry.
And I've been seeing a lot of people post on Facebook and other social media to where they're like, oh, this is the perfect shoe-in for JJ and the Arizona Cardinals. Look out, NFL, because here come the Cardinals. First off, JJ Watt is no missing link to that team to push them into Super Bowl status. Okay.
Not at all.
Does he complement the defense if he
Yeah.
can stay healthy? But we have to remember, this is 2021 JJ. This is not 2015 JJ. This is not 2018 JJ.
Right.
This is a 31, 32-year-old JJ Watt. He played all season long for like the third time last year out of his 10-year career. He's injury prone. And now I know some people are like, oh, well, it's a torn pec and his leg and his fingers. I don't give a fuck. He has enough injuries to make a team concerned, but
Yeah,
apparently,
you should be worried to commit this type of money to a guy when you have holes that can be filled by guys that were already on your roster last year.
absolutely.
Fucking earned the money.
So my take on that is their offense we've broken down. We know Fitz, if he plays, he's not going to be a major factor.
No, I mean, yeah, he's an added piece, but he's not the focal point. Correct.
Rumor is Kenyon Drake may not be on this team next year.
He doesn't.
So
I've heard he doesn't want back,
they,
and I've heard that the Arizona Cardinals are not even offering a comparable, like even market value for what he's played.
they're losing a decent back.
Oh yeah,
You,
we went through it last time. We know exactly what this team is going to be based on the free agents that we thought they were going to go after. And I don't think that signing J.J. Watt changes anything that we've said.
no, it doesn't make them a powerhouse team. And there's also rumor now to where Hassan Reddick, the guy that I said they need to sign immediately,
That guy's a stud. Yeah, you're right.
he's going somewhere else. Like
Well,
you bring in
he
J.J.
wants to.
Watt, and now you're saying goodbye to your leading sack player of last year, right?
Yeah, and plus, like, he's going to command what we said, over $40 million for 3 seasons or 4 seasons.
Yep.
Well, now you can't afford him.
Nope.
You know, I mean, now you got to make more cuts because you wanted J.J. Watt. Like, okay, personally, I understand. We've watched J.J. Watt. I mean, you know, you being a Texan fan, you've seen every down that the man has played.
Right. All 7 of them.
But when he won Defensive Player of the Year, how'd they finish?
I think at best maybe 10-3.
Well,
or 10-6.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, basic math is not my strong
I was
point.
like, we can't add this morning. But regardless, that he won a Defensive Player of the Year, they went 4-12.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he's a great player. He has a huge drive. He gives everything that he has to the team. So you always want a guy like that on your roster.
Right.
But if you think that he's going to be your savior and come in and make this team a Super Bowl contender, it's not true. It's a complete fabrication in your brain. Like, I don't see it, dude.
The one thing I will agree on, though, is him and Chandler Jones on the other side is a scary duo.
If he's healthy.
If he's healthy. And that goes for both of them, right?
True.
Like, if both of them are healthy, it's going to be a scary defense. Don't get me wrong on that. But you also have to remember the division that they're in. They're not in an easy division, okay?
Right.
And again, we broke that down on the last episode. We've already said what we needed to on it. I don't see this being over an 8-8 team anymore. I mean, I think it's going to be a repeat, if not worse, than what it was last year.
Yeah, I mean, they play 6 games in the division, right? They're going to lose both games to the Rams.
Yep.
Right? They're going to lose 1 game to Seattle. So, I mean, that right there, best, they're going to be 3-3 in the division. And do we think that adding J.J. Watt makes them have a better defense than the Rams? No way.
You know, the funny thing was, too, a part of me was like, oh, he went ahead and signed with the NFC team so he wouldn't have to play the Texans. Well, damn it, what do they have to do this year? They play the Texans in Houston. So
perfect.
We'll see how that goes. Of course, Houston is going to cheer him on whenever he comes back on, but
I mean, and they should. I mean,
absolutely,
he's given this city way more than just blood, sweat, and tears. You know, he's given almost part of his soul to this city. So
absolutely,
I've got nothing but respect for the man. Personally, I think he just enjoys being in front of the camera, but that's just me. But that's why I think that this contract is more, to me, it signifies, yeah, winning's kind of important, but I like money.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just what it is, man.
I'm wondering if the other teams just didn't have the guarantee that he was looking for, or they were just wanting to do like a 1-year deal.
Well, and you know, that might be true. I mean, we heard the reports that most of the offers were between the $14 and $16 million range. It did come out after he signed with the Cardinals that the Colts were willing to give him more.
Ooh.
I don't know if that kind of weighed in the like the emotional department of, you know what, I really don't want to stick it to Texan fans.
Right.
So, I mean, because you know how it is. As a Broncos fan, I don't ever want to see Von Miller put on the black and gold, or the black and silver. Never want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him wear red. I sure as hell don't want to see him put on a goddamn Chargers uniform. And that, you know, that's just emotional. That's all that is. I mean, but I feel like most Texan fans would have, if the Colts would have been in the Super Bowl, like say the Colts were as good as the Chiefs, right? And J.J. Watt decided, you know what, I want to win a Super Bowl, and he went to join the Colts. I think in that situation, Texan fans would probably let it go because they want to see their guy win.
Right.
Going to Arizona, it doesn't check any of the boxes other than he gets money, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's for money. I think his wife plays for Chicago.
Yep.
Right. His family's from Wisconsin. Right. So, and his brother's playing Pittsburgh. So I can't see, like, unless he just thinks that this team is going to take a huge step forward, I just don't see it.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see what they do with the rest of free agency. We'll have to see what they do with, the draft. Who knows, man? They could find some surprise studs in the draft that we're not looking out for, and this whole team just changes. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's not. I'm not going to say it's impossible because as Kevin Garnett says, anything is possible. But
yeah, as of right now, I don't see them even making playoffs. So,
NFC South, buddy, what do you got?
Oh, dude,
Let's start with the dumpster fire that is Atlanta.
that team right there. Ever since that loss to New England in the Super Bowl, I don't think they've really been relevant ever since, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like they got their soul crushed. It's like, well, I mean, to be fair, 28-3, and then you lose.
Yeah,
that sucks.
It's a little doozy for them, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's tough to swallow there. I can't even imagine. 28-3 with like 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they lost.
One of the first things that we always point out on here is their cap space, and they're in the hole, $15.8 million.
Yep.
Right. Yep. They've got the number 4 pick in the first round, and they have all their other picks after that. Yep. Where to even start? 18th in total offensive yards, 5th in passing, 27th in rushing, 29th total yards allowed by their defense, 32nd in passing, and 6th in rushing. Like they let the ball fly on that defense, and it was kind of like they were just watching it fly by. And, oh shit! I'm supposed to do something.
Right. Yeah. I have listed as their first 3 needs. Well, really, their first 4 is all on defense.
Yep.
Safety, cornerback, linebacker, defensive end, and they got nobody.
And they don't.
They have no money.
I went ahead and looked in my crystal ball and looked at the future with this team, and this is not just a year that they can fix right out the gate. They've got a lot of problems coming up in the next couple of years.
They're going to need a lot of help from players that are currently on their roster with restructuring contracts to even be competitive.
Matt Ryan's under contract until 2024. Julio's under contract until 2024. Jake Matthews, their tackle, is under contract until 2024. Calvin Ridley's on his last year of his rookie contract, and that dude's going to want to get paid.
Well, and he's earned it. Look at how
absolutely
he did when Julio Jones was out. Even when Julio Jones was on the other side of the field, he still performed. The guy's a stud. We knew he was going to be a badass coming out of the draft, and he went to a team that likes to throw it around, and he showed off, man. They need to. That's what sucks is they're going to have to pay this guy. But diving a little bit deeper into the salary cap, they're talking about cutting James Carpenter, their left guards. That saves them $4 million. But there's also a possibility to restructure Julio, Grady Jarrett, Jake Matthews, Deion Jones, and Matt Ryan. If they're able to restructure all 5 of those guys and they cut James Carpenter, they could have $48 million worth of cap space that are freed up. But the catch is you got to pay Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
You have no running back other than Ito Smith.
Yep.
And you have a need at basically every position on defense. So I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, like we talked about, they're going to be free agents out there like Hassan Riddick. He's going to be out there, but he's going to command a $40 million contract. Can they take that hit but fill a hole? And then it's like, well, they've got their draft picks, but they don't have any extra picks. They don't have the compensatory picks that all the other teams have. Like the Patriots have 3 picks in the 4th round. They don't have the capital to move around in the draft, but they do have the number 4 pick. So
that's interesting. It's a very interesting pick.
There's 2 schools of thought here, right? It's just like when we talked about the Jets. The Jets have Sam Darnold, right? He's a young guy. Don't really know who he is, all that kind of stuff. We know who Matt Ryan is, but he's older. So how much of that Matt Ryan are we going to still see? Like you said, he's still under contract till 2024, so they've got him under control to the end of his career. And last year he had a 93 quarterback rating. So he can still perform, and he can still perform at a high level, especially with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley out on the outsides. I feel like if they can get this restructuring done and sell like this whole team motto type thing, maybe they can plug a couple holes on free agent, and then maybe they can draft. I don't know. At the top of the draft, it's really hard to not take a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But if you trade back, everybody wants to move up to get a quarterback. So, like, I don't really know what you do here.
Well, you look at the depth chart, and there's nobody behind Matt Ryan. Matt Schaub's not there anymore. They picked up, I think, some off of waiver for their practice squad. They've kind of put themselves in a bind right now to where they have to go quarterback with the four pick. You have to go ahead and start seeing, all right, is this the year we find the quarterback that we pass the torch to later on down the road? Or are they going to go free agent market and get fits or
I think, honestly, I think it depends on how the draft shakes out. I mean, we already know Trevor Simeon's number 1, so he's off the board.
right?
But at number 2, a lot of people are saying the Jets are going to take a quarterback. But if the Jets move back, which is what in my heart, that's what I hope they do. Because if they move back, they can get some more picks, and somebody's going to be moving up to draft a quarterback at number 2. There are mock drafts out there that show that the Falcons would be moving up to number 2 to make sure they get their guy. But let's say that doesn't happen. Who do you think is the second quarterback off the board?
I seriously think it's the BYU kid.
Zach Wilson?
Yes. Everything I keep watching on him, all the reports I keep seeing, like I've seen Carolina jump up for him. I've seen Atlanta jump up for him. I've seen the Jets looking at him super hard, right?
So let's say the world stays exactly the same. The Jets don't trade back and they draft a quarterback. I feel like they're going to take Zach Wilson. So I feel like if I'm the Falcons, Zach Wilson's my guy.
Right.
And if he gets drafted, well, then now, you know what? Now I'm sticking with Matt Ryan, and I'm going to change my strategy. And I feel like in that position, you could trade back, and maybe that's where, that's where Carolina wants to jump up to 4, and they want to take Justin Fields because he's still available. I think Justin Fields is the guy that Carolina wants all along anyway. He's very similar to Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's more athletic. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater had the huge knee injury, lost a lot of his athleticism and all that kind of stuff, and he didn't really play well last year. So I feel like Justin Fields is the guy they want. So if I can move back now at number 8, it makes more sense to take a cornerback or a safety. I think cornerback is probably the position you go with in that spot.
Yeah, and the thing that we've talked about before is like this is a very lackluster draft or at least in my opinion, right?
Well, as far as with offensive stars, yeah, I agree with you.
Well, even on defense, right? You only have maybe 1 or 2 like eye-popping players out there. And like you said at the beginning of this topic, like Atlanta needs defense.
Yeah.
They need a lot of help at defense. There's no point in them drafting a defensive end in the first round with Dante Fowler and Steven Means. Like there's really no hurt there. It's their backfield, like you said, with cornerback and safety. That's their damage control right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I do like Micah Parsons, but I don't know if he does the job that you actually need. I mean, like you said, they're 32nd in passing defense.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to go cornerback. We talked about guys that have sat out a year. I don't know exactly how they're going to do, but on my board, I still have Caleb Farley as the number 1 cornerback. I feel like if they trade with the Panthers, they move back to 8, they're going to get a couple more draft picks later on in this draft or maybe even next year, which they're going to need. And then they can still draft Caleb Farley, who plugs in day 1, and he improves that defense.
Well, speaking of improving the defense, they've got a new head coach, Arthur Smith. Looking at Arthur Smith's background, he had some roles in defensive departments for previous teams. I'm hoping that he comes in and goes strong on the recommendations on getting more defensive players. Along with the new coach, they got a new GM of Terry Fontenot, and I had to do my homework on him just because I'd never heard of him.
Yeah.
He has a very interesting resume. He started out as a scout for New Orleans and worked his way up to being one of the top scouts for the team. He was with the team from 2006 to 2020. And just some of the notable players that he picked up, Cameron Jordan, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas, Marcus Davenport, and Marshawn Lattimore. Those are just a few of the long list of players that he helped find in the draft.
When was he the GM for the Saints?
He's GM for the Falcons.
Oh, I'm sorry. What would he do for?
He was the scout, the head scout.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so then he had a hand in getting those teams. Well, we've seen how good that team has been.
Yes.
In plugging in players since Drew Brees got there.
So if he's carrying his scout experience and knowledge, I think he could possibly be pretty deadly in this draft.
That's definitely a shot in the arm for this team, especially when you named off some of those premier defensive players. That means that's exactly what he's looking for.
So it's going to be interesting watching this team with the draft with him as GM. That gives me a little bit more confidence in them keeping the number 4 pick, because he seems like a man who uses these draft picks pretty wisely. Also, at the same time, I could see him trading players for later round draft picks. And one of the ones that I'm thinking that they need to go ahead and trade, and you mentioned that they need to get a safety, I think they need to go ahead and trade Keneal, or what's his name?
Keanu Neal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trade him for a later round draft pick. Use that in your arsenal of draft picks. Go that route. And I'm kind of on the same boat with you. I think first round they need to go cornerback or linebacker.
I'm with you. I think the cornerback might take precedent just because of how valuable they are, and you're picking at number 4 in the draft.
Yep.
I feel like if you don't move back, it has to be a cornerback. There's nobody else that has a grade that high on the defensive side of the ball.
And I'm wondering if this team is already accepting their place for next year and are counting on getting a high draft pick, or they're going to Tankville and just trying to keep within the top 5, and they might see a quarterback that they want next year.
Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about before, there are some quarterbacks that I think that'll go in the 2nd and 3rd round that are guys that could, potentially plug and play just like Matt Ryan. I don't want to discount Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's been a pretty damn good quarterback for
Matty
his whole
Ice,
career.
baby.
I mean, he's Matty Ice, but what has he won? He never won anything, right? And that's
true.
I hate saying that, because to me, winning is a team stat. It always has been, but every great quarterback, they always get that monkey on their back, right? Like they said that about Peyton Manning till he finally won. They said that about John Elway till he finally won. They still say that about Dan Marino, and he never won.
True.
And it's like, well, and like Phil Simms was a great quarterback. He lost the Super Bowl. So, or not Phil Simms. Phil Simms won the Super Bowl. It's Jim Kelly that lost. Whatever. You knew what I was talking about. The point is that, we're doing a podcast and I can't remember football, and I apologize. But
the people listening by now are kind of used to it.
Right.
So.
Like I screwed up. I said the wrong name. You ever forget? Happened to me. Yeah. So anyway, the point is that that's the knock on quarterbacks. You never hear that knock about any linebacker, right? You never hear that knock about any defensive ends, right? Like right now, we're talking about J.J. Watt. He's a sure first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
He's won, 3 playoff games? I mean, was he even a part of them? He might have been fucking hurt those years. I don't even know.
His individual stack records is just what separates him. Of course, we know that.
Of course. So same thing. That's why Dan Marino, everyone knows when you watch Dan Marino play, he was one of the greatest ever. We just knew.
Even looking at Matt Ryan's accolades, I mean, he's still more than likely going to get in the Hall of Fame one day. It's not going to be a first-year ballot or.
I don't think so. And we've talked about this off air. I feel like, I don't know. We looked at how many quarterbacks before. Now that was before this year, right? True. Obviously, we had a couple get in, but there were 26 or 27 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL.
Yep.
That were in the Hall of Fame. We were talking about Tony Romo, and you were adamant that he was not going to make it. And I just remember he was a very good quarterback, but you're right. He is not a top 30 quarterback of all time. He's just not.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
You heard me. So my point is Matt Ryan better than Tony Romo? And yes. I say no.
Yes. Hands down.
You only say that because you hate the Cowboys.
Well, regardless of that fact, I mean, even stat-wise, you look at it. Now, granted, Matt Ryan's still playing and Tony's out, but right. Four-time Pro Bowl first team All Pro, MVP in 2016. Yeah. Offensive Player of the Year, passer rating leader. The list goes on and on and on with Matt Ryan,
Yeah,
where
and
the accolades for Tony Romo are probably nowhere similar.
Well, I mean, he has like the second or third highest ever quarterback rating. So I mean,
I'm probably about to get a lot of hate mail because I'm dogging on Tony Romo.
Well, no, but the point is not about Tony Romo. The point is
Right.
that okay, so I think that Tony Romo's the better quarterback. You think that Matt Ryan's the better quarterback, but how much is the margin? It's very small.
I'll get
right?
back to you. I'll circle back around to you on that.
Fuck all that. My point is that I don't think he's not good enough to make the Hall of Fame unless they somehow win a Super Bowl. But they were 4-12 last year.
Yeah.
They got a lot of holes on defense. I just don't see Matt Ryan making the Hall of Fame. So the point, I guess the point of that is if he's not going to make the Hall of Fame and you're not going to win the Super Bowl with him, do you just go ahead and sacrifice the remaining years on his contract and draft somebody? Or do you go defense and try to win with the team that you have?
They've got to fix the defense. Late round, if a quarterback is available, we're going to see him picked up because there's nobody to back him up in the event that Matt Ryan's hurt. I think defense is the most important thing that team can do right now. Matt Ryan, you've got him for at least 3 more years. 2023, I think he can opt out of his contract. So you got him for at least 2 years, all right? You've got to work on the defensive side of the ball. Matt Ryan didn't have bad stats last year. I mean, he
was a very good quarterback.
Right. He played his role. It was the defense that didn't do it, hence the horrible record that they had.
I mean, and honestly, like watching them play through the season, like you almost felt bad for them because they would get out to a lead and they would be playing so well, and then they'd lose in the fourth quarter.
How many times they
lost double digits? They lost at least 3 or 4 games by double digit. They had a double-digit lead at the start of the fourth quarter, and they lost.
Horrible.
I don't know. I don't know how that happens, right? Is it just like, it could be from the Super Bowl, right? Man, we were here in the Super Bowl, and now we're right back. Like, one touchdown happens or one first down happens, and it's like, oh my God, here we go again. And then it happens, and you're like, great. Now what do we do? So it could be mentality. It could be they need to completely clean house. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like going forward, if you want to win in the next 2 seasons, Matt Ryan has to be your quarterback.
He has to, and I think they're going to ride that. So,
and plus, honestly, I think that he's going to give him a discount. He's going to restructure his contract so that way he finishes his career in Atlanta. I
can see that. What's your take on final record for him for next season?
I mean, they were 4-12. If they trade back in the draft, I think that they might be able to squeeze out 7 wins. If they hold pat with where they are, their ceiling might be 6 wins. So, I mean, because based on how the defense played last year and how close they were to winning games, I feel like they could flip it around and be 10-6 next year. You got to remember this division notoriously has last place winning the division the next season. It's out of like the last 12 years, it's happened like 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
So that could happen again. And I don't see it happening, but it could. We could be surprised.
I'm going to give them one more win than they had this last year. Like I really want to believe that they're going to tank. They're already going in the mindset and tanking and maybe going over, but I mean,
you can't think that 5-11 next season is going to get you a high draft pick because
that's true.
There's still the Jets out there. There's still the Jaguars. There's still shitty teams out there.
The Texans.
Oh
yeah.
Brutal. And what sucks is they're gonna suck that bad, and they're not gonna have anything to show for it. Nope. They're still not gonna have a first round draft pick.
Miami's gonna be like, "Thank you again."
Yeah, appreciate you, bud.
Let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah, okay. So I'll write it down. You're saying 5-11. I'm saying 6-10.
There you go. Let's go ahead and move to Carolina. This team right here kind of pisses me off a little bit.
Me
because
too.
it's because of the fact that you went ahead and reached out and took Teddy Bridgewater, um, and then after 1 year, you're like, "Screw you, dude. We're gonna go ahead and let
Yeah,
you.
eject.
You're on the trade market. Just heads up. All right."
Right. Yeah. Like we appreciate what you did for us, and we really, really liked you last year, but yeah, you kind of suck.
Yeah. They they didn't really give him much support. Now, granted, Christian McCaffrey was injured as usual, so the running game wasn't there that we want to see every single season. But Christian
Yeah.
just can't stay healthy. His receiving core was mediocre at best. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore when he wasn't hurt. Who else was on there?
That's it. Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, like you don't have any star-studded like
There's no playmakers on this team other
that's the
than
word I'm looking
McCaffrey.
for.
I'm with you. And
20
really, excuse me, Teddy Bridgewater, he's a middle of the road quarterback. 15 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He only threw for 3,700 yards in a league where you're supposed to throw the ball all over the place.
Mhm.
He's a very accurate quarterback, which is why he has the appeal. You know, he completed 69% of his passes. So I like that fact of him. But you just need somebody that has some playmaking ability.
Yep.
And I know that he has it. We've seen it before, but it did not show up this year. Um, they have a decent defense, but their offensive line is kind of suspect. They're like, they're middle of the road, maybe a little bit less than middle of the road. They gave up the 18th or the 15th most sacks last year. So that's right in the middle of the road. But then, on top of that is it Teddy Bridgewater held on to the ball a little bit too long, or he tried to make something happen that wasn't there and he just didn't get it done. That's something that, we'll have to see on the film. But I feel like their needs right now are offensive line, but not because they didn't perform, but because four of them are free agents.
Yep. And they're
The
also letting their left tackle Russell Okung, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
They're letting him test the market.
Well, I mean, I completely understand that. He is a left tackle, and he has been a left tackle in the league for a while, but he's 32 years old, right? And he's probably going to want, a 4-year deal.
Hmm.
And do you really want to be on the hook for a 35-year-old left tackle? And I just don't think you want to. Based on what I see from their offensive line, they did pretty good in drafting the two, or getting the two younger guys on the right hand side. I'm not for sure if they drafted them both, but the right hand side of their offensive line is 27, 26 with the John Miller and Taylor Moton. I don't know how to say his last name. Moton. However you pronounce it, that's good.
Okay.
So those guys are younger. You can pay them some money. Their center is Matt Paredes. He used to play for the Broncos. He's pretty good. He's 31, so he's getting up there in age. But him and Michael Schofield, they played together in Denver. So there's kind of a chemistry there. So I feel like you can re-sign those guys and go after a left tackle in the draft, right? But the problem is that they're picking number 8, and do they want to go for a quarterback?
That's the rumor, right? They wanting a quarterback. There's rumor that they're possibly the number one team right now for the Deshaun Watson trade.
Right.
There's rumor believe that they have a lot to offer that we're not seeing at the moment. Um, I don't know that. Again, this team pisses me off because of the fact how they're disrespecting Teddy Bridgewater, but
Well,
also at the same time they do need to get some type of um, backup for him, right? In the event that Teddy
I mean,
Bridgewater just shits the bed, like they need to have somebody ready to step up. Now, me personally, I've been a fan of Will Grier ever
I
since they
was going to
drafted
say
him.
Will Greer is like your guy.
I think Will Grier is underrated, and I also like PJ Walker. You know, PJ Walker, granted, we saw him play in the XFL. He came out and looked like a stud out there. Now, granted, it's a second-rate league, but I
Right.
mean, he looked
But
good
he still
enough for him to.
performed.
Yeah, he used to back up Russell Wilson in Seattle, and now that he's backing up Teddy Bridgewater, like there's got to be a reason why they picked him up, not just to fill a hole. Giggity. So That's why I'm kind of on the fence as far as, do they draft another quarterback? Do they go with who they've drafted and who they picked up on the free agency market, right? That's one of the things I've never really understood about the NFL is how teams will draft quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and you never see them. You never hear their names or
Yeah,
anything like that. The New York Giants did that for years before Eli retired. The Cowboys have done it. A lot of teams do it on a regular, and you never see those players come out and do anything, right?
yeah.
So I don't know. I think they need to go ahead and keep Bridgewater, work on the defense. Honestly, I'm leaning more towards their O line like you, because I mean 22nd in offensive yards is not impressive whatsoever.
I mean, to be fair though, 22nd in offensive yards, but their premier playmaker, he missed a lot of games.
Right, but even if he was there, the yards, like I mean, was he going to get the rushing yards he needed? Now, granted, Christian McCaffrey is a completely different beast than the rest of that backfield,
Right.
but I
I mean,
mean,
Mike Davis was a great fill-in. He's a little bit up in age, so he wasn't the best.
right.
But I mean, he's not nothing to sleep on. Like that guy, I remember 2 years ago when Christian McCaffrey got hurt again. Mike Davis filled in perfectly for him, and I was impressed with how he actually caught the ball in the backfield, because up until then, it had been kind of thought that he was just like your goal line bruiser back. And I mean, he showed he could ball out, man.
Yeah, this past season, he had 70 targets for 373 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. Rushing, he was 642 with 6 touchdowns. So yeah, he played a role on it. But I mean, you still look at it. That's a team that was 21st in rushing. So we can both agree on
Yeah.
this, that O line definitely needs to beef up. And again, on the free agency
Oh, for
market,
sure. And I feel like if they, yeah, well, I don't know about free agent. I don't know how many free agent guards or tackles. Oh my God. Ugh. Wow. My desk broke.
oh, welcome to the
Listening to
podcast.
garbage. Ugh. Furniture breaking. Oh my God, it's terrible. All right. Anyway, yeah, I feel like either in the draft. Well, I mean, I feel like the offensive line help is not coming from free agency. I mean, Trent Williams is available. We talked about him. There's probably obviously there's going to be a couple guards. I think Justin Pugh is going to get cut, so that's another guard that's available. But I feel like the best way to help this team, I think you're right. Going for quarterback doesn't make sense for this
Mm-mm.
team. Teddy Bridgewater, he doesn't suck. He's not the best, but I feel like in this offense, maybe you don't need somebody who throws the ball 50 times a game and throws for 5,000 yards. You
Mm-hmm.
have a pretty good running back. If you bring in another piece that fits behind him, because Mike Davis is a free agent now. If you bring him in, bring another guy in that can kind of take some of the load off Christian McCaffrey, but still kind of be explosive, then you got something. Then now you drafted. They need a tight end, right? So you can get a tight end there. But I feel like with the number 8 pick, if to me, I feel like if you're trading up for a quarterback, you're wasting that pick.
Yeah.
I feel like you need to draft offensive line, and you need to. I mean, I think that Cincinnati is going to take Sewell. So then, right after that, there's still what do we say? You pronounce the name Cosme? Cosme is still available, and that way you can let Richard Okung, not Richard Okung. You can let Okung walk because you got a younger replacement.
Yeah.
And to me, Cosme, he's 6'7". That's the. If I stay at number 8, if I'm the GM of the Panthers, I'm drafting offensive line at number 8.
Yeah.
It's not sexy. It's not a big splash, but he's going to plug in day one and he's going to improve your offense. And he, fills in a hole. He's going to sign. He's a first round pick, so he gets a 4-year contract with a 5th-year team option. So, I mean, I feel like that's the smart play. Now, teams don't always do the smart play, so we'll see what happens.
That is correct. Could you see them possibly trading up to get somebody like Sewell or Cosme?
Maybe, but the deal is though is that Cincinnati picks 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, quarterback's going number 1, and I'm sure quarterback's going number 2. I'm just not sure that the quarterback is going to the Jets. I'm still in the camp that they're going to trade back. I feel like that they need to build that roster from the inside out, and drafting a quarterback there just is dumb. So let's say they trade out. That'd be a quarterback at number 2, and then number 3 was number 3 Cincinnati, and then number 4 is Atlanta, right? Is that right?
Cincinnati is 5, Atlanta's 4.
Who's at 3?
Dolphins.
The Dolphins. Well, they're not drafting offensive line, are they?
Well,
Am I going with a wide receiver?
Yeah, the some of the newest mock drafts I've seen, they've got them actually going and getting Sewell.
Wow.
I would be really surprised if they do that because of the fact, I mean, you can put Devontae Smith back with Tua, or go ahead and get Jamar Chase and bring him on the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase is the guy that I would go after. But yeah, I mean, if you're not sold on Tua, it's really hard to not pick a quarterback there, especially if Justin Fields is the second quarterback taken.
Right.
To me, if Justin Fields is gone and you're at 3 and Zach Wilson is sitting there, draft him. That's who I would draft.
I think we'll cover the Dolphins on another time. Back to Carolina. In the event that the 2 offensive linemen that we constantly talk about are taken, if Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, any of those 3 are available at number 8, you're stupid for not taking one of them. All right.
I think if Carolina doesn't take Kyle Pitts in that spot, yeah, that's who they should go for.
So if you have if you have those 3 available at number 8, are you going with Pitts or are you going to go with one of the receivers?
I'm going with Pitts.
Ooh.
Well, if I'm Carolina, I feel like Pitts helps you more in a need area. I mean, do you need a wide receiver? Yeah. But you've got Robbie Anderson under contract for a couple more years. You've got DJ Moore, who you drafted, right? So he's there for a little while longer. And then Curtis Samuel is not too bad. I believe they drafted Curtis Samuel too. So, I mean, I feel like the need is more at tight end. But I don't know. They have what's the guy's name? Smith is his last name. The tight end. I didn't write his name down. Anyway, that guy, he's pretty good too. It's not Irv Smith, because that's who I'm thinking of. Irv Smith is in Minnesota. Who am I thinking of as the tight end for?
They've got, I just saw his name. Where'd it go? Ian Thomas.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Ian Thomas is a pretty good player. I had the eye in there. Whatever. The point is, he's a pretty decent player. But I feel like tight end is more of a foundation piece, and wide receiver is more of like an icing piece. And so I feel like if you're building the cake, right now your cake is pretty shitty in Carolina. You need to build the cake back up. And you can't start putting you can't put icing on a cake that doesn't stand up itself, right? So there's no point in making flowers, these little, whatever those, are they called flowers? I don't even know.
I didn't know you were into baking.
Well, I mean, I like eating baking. Is that how you say that? I don't know. Like when they have the baked good stuff at school, that's like my favorite day. I buy freaking everything, and I come home and I eat most of it on the way.
I did that with Girl Scout cookies the other day. Walked into the store, and the girls were like, "You want some cookies?" Well, you can't say no. You got to go. You got to go with the caramel delights and the thin mints. And I mean, I was walking around the store eating the whole box of them.
You know, they changed the name. They're not even called caramel delights anymore. They're called Samoas.
I think that's what their original names were back in the day when they first started.
Oh, so then maybe I'm bitching about the wrong thing.
I don't know.
Well, whatever. To me, they will always be caramel delights, and they are hands down the best Girl Scout cookie. And if you don't believe me, Come catch these hands. I'm telling you,
I'm
that's where it's at.
I'm totally with you. I don't like the Thin Mints. I get that for the wife. Thin Mints to me are like eating toothpaste.
They're
So
fully overrated. Fully
I
overrated.
I agree. I didn't even see what other flavors they had because every now and then they come out with some new flavors
Yeah,
each
I mean,
year.
I've seen a couple like the peanut butter sandwich cookies are pretty cool. And then they have some other ones that are like peanut butter cookies and they're covered in chocolate. That's
Mm,
pretty cool. I mean, to me, almost anything covered in chocolate's a good idea. So
that
are
is
Thin
true.
Mints. Yeah, it's like, how do you ruin Thin Mints? Jesus.
Yeah,
But anyway, so Carolina's 30 million under the cap. They've talked about, or they've already cut Quan Short, defensive tackle. Trey Boston is a safety.
which wasn't much of a.
No, I mean, yeah, it's not really a loss there.
I
Stephen
mean,
Weatherly they cut from the defensive end, and they cut their punter. Darn.
so, let's go back on Kawan Short. He was released by Carolina, and he was on Sirius NFL talking to them, and he said he wants to go back and play for them.
I was gonna say that's the note that I have here is that they cut him, but they want to re-sign him, and I guess the goal is to re-sign him to a multi-year deal.
But the problem is he missed the last 2 seasons, and he had shoulder surgery on both of them, both
Yeah,
shoulders.
which is dangerous for a guy who uses his hands for a living.
Right.
Um, but when he was healthy, he was a pretty dominant interior defensive lineman.
That's that whole thing, though. You can say, but when they're healthy, this and that. Like, I mean, we said the same thing with J.J. Watt, right?
No, you're right,
He
and maybe that's why they cut him because they knew they could get him for a cheaper contract.
he's 32 years old, with two new shoulders. It's hard to get behind him, and yeah, the experience and the leadership he's had with that team speaks a lot. But I agree with you. If they do re-sign him, they've got to get him cheap, dirt
Oh yeah,
cheap.
oh yeah.
I do think Trey Boston being on the open market can hurt them if he goes somewhere else. The dude's a killer safety, in my opinion. I think any team that picks him up, he makes that defense just a little bit better, and
Okay.
it's going to hurt Carolina for them to lose him.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Looking at the roster, it looks like they have somebody that's going to step up and play right in his spot. They don't have too many open holes on defense. Um, I put as for their needs, I put them, offensive line, guard, and tackle. But that's just because everybody on their offensive line, except for the center, is a free agent.
Hmm.
With them being 30 million under the cap, they make a couple more cuts. They could be 40 million under the cap. They could make those holes disappear. Then also drafting number 8, I feel like a tackle is going to be there. I for sure feel like Cosme will be there. It depends. Obviously, it depends on how the draft goes. I hope that they don't screw their future by reaching for a quarterback, but I understand the appeal. I totally get it. I mean, we saw Blake Bortles go in the first freaking round, so I understand why teams want to reach for him. It's probably the most important position on the field. They touch the ball every play. Like I get the draw. I totally understand it. But like I said, I feel like if you're going to build a roster, you've got to start with both offensive and defensive line. That's where the games are won.
I think you've hit it on the head, dude. They need to beef up that O line, and if you beef up that O line, you're going to see the Teddy Bridgewater that they went out for.
I agree. I mean, they gave up. What was it? 31 sacks last year. That's,
Yeah.
that's a lot, man. That's your quarter. And then 31 sacks. That just means they got him down 31 times. He probably got hit 60 times.
Oh yeah.
So you let your quarterback get hit that much. It's not a good formula. But yeah, I mean the only other free agent, like big name free agent, was Tahir Whitehead. He's a pretty solid defense or pretty solid linebacker for that defense. He's 30 years old, so he's on the north side of the north side of the age line. You don't really want to sign guys his age to like long-term 5-year contracts. But I mean, he's a leader on your team, so I mean, is that somebody that you think they bring back, or you probably just let him walk?
I'd probably let him walk. Um, this is still a rebuilding team. Ever since Rivera left and Cam left and
Yeah.
McCaffrey still being hurt, They need a lot of work. To me, they're very similar to the Atlanta Falcons right now. They've just got to make the right moves, which again can be said about any team, every
Yeah,
team.
I feel like we say that every time we talk, but
And but
but it's the truth, you
it,
know.
re- it it really is. I mean, this is a game of chess. Even though we're talking about football, you've got to make the right moves to be successful. And
Yeah,
so if the front office, the scouting team can't find what they're actually looking for, they're going to continue to be in the same position over and over each season.
yeah,
They
I'm
finished
with
out
you.
5-11 this past season. I see them doing the same, if not worse,
I'm
unless
with you. I'm
unless
with
they
you.
can beef up their O line.
I feel like the only way, honestly, the only way they're getting better is if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy for the full season. Then I feel like he's worth 2 more wins right there. The scary part is when you go back and you look at the results for every game for this season, they were in every game. I think they only lost 2 games by 2 scores. Every other game was within 7 points.
Really?
So I feel like Christian McCaffrey being there bolsters the offense. If they can get the offensive lineman at number 8, that's a good pickup. Honestly, if they can get Micah Parsons at number 8, he immediately starts as a linebacker in the middle of that defense. And, he's a Penn State guy. So, they produce great linebackers. And, he's obviously going to be pretty smart. So I feel like that's a good pick there, too. It just depends. I mean, like you said, if they're letting Russell Okung walk because of his age, then I feel like that kind of handicaps where you have to go tackle.
Yep.
And I feel like honestly at that spot at number 8, there will be at least 2 of the top 3 tackles still available. And like I said, I'm going Cosme, man. That's my guy. Obviously, Sewell is the guy. That's who I really want. That
Right.
guy is phenomenal. Did you know that he actually got a Heisman vote as an offensive lineman? That's how good he is.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, as a freshman, he got a Heisman Trophy vote as a freshman.
Well,
Wow. So anyway, that's the guy you pick, but he won't be there because Cincinnati's going to take him. So if Cosme's still available, or the kid for Northwestern that I just forgot his name, I have it written down. Give me a second. The kid from Northwestern, Rashawn Slater, if he's available, you can take him as well. He's just as good. Personally, I like the guy from Cosme. It could be because he went to Texas and I just know he's 6'7". I don't know. But those are the 2 guys that I'm looking at. I feel like Cosme, you draft him, you plug him in, and 10 years later, he's just your all-pro left tackle. That's just what's going to happen.
I can see that as long as those knees don't give out on that big boy.
Yeah, that's another thing. But so where are we putting these guys?
Again, 5-11 again, if not worse.
Okay, I'm going to go with a little uptick here. I'm going to say 7-9, but I'm going to say that because
Wow.
I think the Saints get worse. So I think that's kind of where that goes. So I'll put you down for 5-11, and so now we'll move on to the Saints.
It's funny because last week when we talked about the NFC West, it pretty much seemed like that was such a dominant division, and now here we are on the NFC South, and everything seeming pretty fucking low, with the exception of maybe Tampa Bay, and now we move right into the dumpster fire that is the New Orleans Saints, who's about ready to just cut everything.
Their roster is incredible, but it's because they're $66 million over the cap.
On paper, they have a phenomenal team, right? A lot of
Top to
people.
bottom.
And you know what's funny too is like you don't normally hear people hate the Saints because they're such a lovable team, and I don't know if Drew Brees has a lot to do with that, or Sean Payton,
Probably.
or even whenever they were having the Bounty Gate. Like, to me, I thought that was interesting. I thought it was fun. I didn't see anything wrong with it. If you want to go ahead and start wagering with each other to start knocking some heads in,
I'm with you as long as it's player to player, but when it turns into like the organization is like, hey, you know what? We're not putting this in your contract, but $100,000 if you knock out the quarterback.
right.
Well, it might not be a good idea, but
It kind of brought up the old school 80s, early 90s football,
yeah, I mean,
right?
I feel like that they were definitely not the first people to think of that. I mean, that
Well,
shit's been around forever. They're just the only ones that got in trouble.
and it's kind of like the Astros, right? Everybody in baseball cheats some way. The Astros
Of
got caught.
course. Of
So
course. You're
it's,
telling me right now Bill Belichick's not reading the rule book for the 40,000th time trying to find another little rule he can exploit?
I'm,
Of course he is.
I'm sure he did that this past season. We didn't really notice it because nobody really wanted to pay attention to Cam Newton. But we're talking about the Saints right now, okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Saints are in so much fucking debt. They put a third mortgage on. There's a lien on the house. Their credit score is below 200.
Yeah, they got an eviction and they got a repo, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, they're out on the street corners right now, going, "Hey, you got some change? You got some change?" It's bad. It's very bad, and I get why they did what they did to get themselves in such deep shit. You look at
win a Super Bowl. I mean,
absolutely.
what happens.
You look at the team again on paper. It's a phenomenal looking team. You look at their
last
stats.
year they were a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a damn good team. They just couldn't fucking get all the way in, right?
Just the tip, apparently.
Shit. And now here they are.
Now they got blue balls.
They've got blue balls and depression and a drinking problem.
Yeah, all their friends are leaving them.
Their fleshlight's busted. I mean,
their quarterback's retiring.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, he's still technically on the roster. He saved $24 million on the cap. So there is that.
I think because of the fact that we haven't heard anything yet, he's not retiring. He's sticking around. Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I agree with you. It seems like most guys, when they decide they're going to retire, they do it pretty quickly after the season. I mean, unless you're Brett Favre, you retire like 4 or 5 times. But I feel like he is honestly, like, just knowing, I don't know him personally. Don't get me twisted on that. But knowing who he is and how he portrays himself in the media, I mean, honestly, he probably is discussing it with his family, talking with his kids, praying about it. And he's waiting to be moved in the direction he's supposed to go in.
Well, you didn't see the workout video he posted up on Instagram the other day?
No. Did he have a shirt on?
In my mind, no. But yes.
I need to go find it.
The dude's running sleds in the middle of the street. Yeah. It doesn't look like he's slowing down. He looks like he's still preparing to keep going. I mean, unless Monday Night Football has something going for the announcers that we don't know about, like a pregame ritual where they take ass whoopings or something, and he's just trying to be
like they do the P90X to make sure that they're in full shape.
Right. He looks like he's getting ready for the 2021 season. So
maybe he knows something that we don't.
Well, yeah, he's Drew Brees. Of course, he's going to know.
Well, right. That's my point.
So they get the 28th pick in the first round. They get second, third, fourth, fifth, no 6th or 7th. So where are they going?
28th pick in the draft. Well, I mean, that far down the line, you got to go for a safety, man. There's no at that point in the draft. There's not really anything sexy. There might be a couple splashes, but they'll end up being reaching for those type of positions. I think you go safety, and I think you go for the kid from Florida State, to be totally honest.
Are you really going to waste a first-round pick on a safety when you got Malcolm Jenkins sitting back there?
Well, I mean, you've got to make some cap room, and you got to start building somewhere, and I have safety as their number one need.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, we go with defensive end, but the thing is, though, is if you go with the guy that plays the edge rush guy, Gregory Rousseau is the guy they're talking about going number one. I mean, maybe Azeez Ojulari. He's pretty good. I like him. Played Georgia, obviously. He's pretty good. What's crazy is there's two edge rushers, both from Miami, that are in the top 4. Jalen Phillips is the other guy. There's I don't even know how to say his name. It looks like Kwity Paye, but I don't know.
I'll
If
go with
that's,
that.
it looks like Kwity. I don't know, but he played
Teddy
at
Wap.
Michigan. Yeah. That's what I thought. I didn't say it. But that's but he played at Michigan, which Michigan's defense hasn't really been good the last couple of years. So, I mean, he could be just like like a really good bright spot in a really shitty pond. I don't really know yet. But I'm sold on Gregory Rousseau. That guy's a stud.
Yep.
And Azeez Ojulari. I like both of those guys. It's possible that Azeez is available at that spot. But I mean, we just talked about JJ Watt. JJ Watt's a pretty good pass rusher. Does he make Arizona a playoff team? I don't think so.
No.
So do you really go with safety? I guess safety's not really going to make you a playoff team that quickly either.
Well, first off, I don't think we need to worry about this team making the playoffs, right? They've been every year for the past couple of years. They go very deep into the playoffs, right? It's just again getting over that hump that gets them to the Super Bowl. Is it a player
that all hinges on Drew Brees.
True.
Right? The reason why they've been so good, because think about who the Saints were before Drew Brees was there.
Mm-hmm.
They were nobody. They were just as bad as the Cleveland Browns, right? They were the Cleveland Browns before the Cleveland Browns of, prior to the kid from Oklahoma actually deciding to play quarterback for the Browns. The Browns were just that, constant switching at quarterback, constant switching head coach. That's who the Saints were.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, Archie Manning played for him, but he didn't win anything. They still sucked.
Yeah.
So maybe they just, if Drew Brees doesn't come back, which, I mean, you're saying that you think he will. At the end of the season, I thought there's no way he's coming back. I thought he was completely done, broken ribs. But now that I say that out loud, maybe he wants to come back because he wants to come back on his own terms. He wants to finish on his own terms,
I think he wants to give it one more go around, motivate this team more than he ever has before, which I don't know how else he can, because the dude is just a shining light every time he steps into a room, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of guy that would make me want to run through a brick wall for him. You know what I mean?
Dude, just listening to his pregame huddles with the team and the way that he hypes him up, I want to run my head through a wall. I feel like I need to go get suited up and get ready to go out there, right?
Like if his pregame speeches don't give you chills, man, you in the wrong fucking place.
I really don't know what it is that needs to get this team, pushed over. I've got to go back and watch the playoff games and find holes and what.
Well, we're not really worried about them. Okay, so I guess that's the deal, right? It's like we know what the team is with Drew Brees as their quarterback. We know they're going to make the playoffs. The problem with this team right now is how far over the cap they are.
But can they afford to go another year being over the cap, right? Because they did it
far.
What kind of penalty did they get? I haven't even looked at that yet, and we talk about the cap space all the time.
Their bills are, and I don't even know what my bills are.
I don't know. Yes, the number one thing that this team has to do is get that cap under control. Call Dave Ramsey, get his ass in there, hire him.
Yeah, you need to start doing the envelope system right.
Seriously.
Now.
Hey, sorry guys, you're not getting direct deposit anymore. Here's an envelope with some cash in it. Okay.
Right.
Taxes is on you, but. So you brought up defensive end, and one of the notable people that's a free agent right now is their defensive end. Trey Hendrickson led the team with 13 and a half sacks.
Yep.
Do you say goodbye to him and just bring on a draft pick? I'm sorry? He's 27 years old.
27? I mean, well, so the thing is, you're over the cap, and you want to try to re-sign a top-tier defensive end that's 27. Do you think they can afford him? Because I don't think they can.
No, because this last year he made just under $800,000.
Yeah, so he's going to want to get paid. There's no way he comes back to this team because they can't afford him.
But here's the thing, though, right? So you look at his previous – he doesn't have a track record to justify getting a huge contract. He had one good year with 13 and a half sacks. The year before that, 4.5. And he played 13 games. The year before that, he had 0 sacks with 5 games. Game before that, 2 sacks with 12 games. So he he's not a major factor to where I'm going to pay him a fat contract.
Yeah,
So
I mean, he's the thing is though is that he's young, and yeah, this is his first like breakout season. Like I get it, I understand what you're saying. He hasn't proven it, but he got paid $800,000 last year, and his agent is going to tell him this is the time you cash in. You had like your career year, you got to cash in and get that money. And I just don't think, based on the salary cap issues that this team has, that they can afford somebody like that. There were talks about restructuring Michael Thomas.
yep.
This team they don't have a tight end. They cut both their tight ends, so they were cap casualties. So I I don't know, man. Like I show as needs for their team: safety, defensive end, linebacker, tight end, quarterback. But I only have quarterback on there just because I don't believe in Taysom Hill and I don't believe in Jameis Winston. So
I think if they can get any value out of Taysom Hill right now, put his ass on the trading block. Y'all are paying way too much fucking money for that guy to
I mean, yeah,
where
he's like a toy.
he, don't get me wrong, the times he comes in, it does make the defense go, what the fuck are they about to do? Because
Right.
is he going to run? Are they going to toss it to him and he's going to bomb it down the field? Like, don't get me wrong. He is a good weapon to have, but he's not worth the money that they're paying that man.
No, not at all.
Especially for kind of like a secondary role. He's getting paid $16.1 million. Like, that's bizarre in my opinion. For a backup
I mean,
quarterback, I think is what they have him listed as.
yeah.
So, trade him, either get somebody at lower cost or multiple players at lower cost.
So one quarterback that we didn't talk about that's on the roster is Trevor Simeon.
Trevor
Um,
Simeon.
I believe that Trevor Simeon is a more capable starter than both of Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. So I feel like that might be somebody to look at as like a stopgap. Um, and really, I think that opens the door, like you're saying, to trade both to get rid of basically both Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. I feel like if Drew Brees comes back, you don't need those two guys. Get rid of them, and that way you save the cap money.
So they have what's his name? Jameis for a
Yeah,
second year now for a reason, in my opinion. They have something
yeah.
planned for him. I
Well,
think.
but when Drew Brees got hurt, who started? Because it wasn't Jameis.
Well, how are you going to justify starting Jameis whenever you just dropped his fat contract on Hill, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. But my point is, why do you sign that guy to a big contract when you know you have Jameis? Why
Yeah.
do they do that? So I don't know.
I,
Honestly, I think they saw him as they're trying to use him as Darren Sproles.
it's hard for me to get behind Trevor Simeon because of the fact that he didn't play in 2020. I mean, the last time we saw him was with the Jets in 2019, and he played one game, 3 yards. That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not. That's what I'm saying. He's not a premier quarterback. I don't think he's going to challenge for the starting job. What I'm saying is that he's a serviceable backup. And what I'm saying, if you're going to carry four quarterbacks on the roster, there's no. I guess what I'm saying is there's no need to carry four quarterbacks on the roster.
No.
When you have somebody like Trevor Simeon who can back up Drew Brees, obviously he's not going to be near as good. It's not even close.
Well, none of those three are going to be anywhere near the caliber of Drew Brees, right? If Drew Brees goes down in week 1 and one of those three have to come in, they're not going to do.
They're lucky if they win one game while he's out.
No, they'll still win games. I just don't see them being a team to worry about late into the season because of the fact you still have Alvin Kamara. You still have as of right now, you still have a pretty damn good defense, right?
Yeah.
Again, Taysom Hill can get the ball out of his hands, and he has the receivers to catch it as well. So,
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you on that part. But the thing is, though, is that means that you're counting on Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill to not throw the ball to the other team.
and
Jameis Winston has shown that he has no ability to not throw it to the other team. He does it all the time.
that is true, and I don't know how you work on somebody like that who's who's stubborn in that role to where they think their game is completely fine, but yet you got cut being a number one pick, and now you're sitting third string. I
Yeah.
mean, your ego's needing to come down on that.
Yeah, he
And
definitely needs to check himself. You're correct.
and you look at Taysom Hill. I mean, when he did start, he had 2 interceptions uh, during his starts this past season. So I don't know. Again, it's hard for me to get behind Taysom Hill to fill the role for Drew Brees in the event he goes down. But I guess if you're a Saints fan, you have to get behind him because that's your only other option, right?
Yeah, I mean that's all they've got. I mean that's when it comes down to it, they're between a rock and a hard place, and that's all they've got.
With them cutting their tight ends, Jared Cook, I think, was a big role in that offense being successful last year because he was always underrated whenever it came to matchups.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's a veteran player. He knows how to beat certain defenses. He knows what Drew Brees expects of him. So it worked out pretty well. But yeah, I mean, now he's gone and Josh Hill is gone.
Yeah,
So
I
that leaves
think
almost no tight end. I don't know what they're going to do with that.
I think they're going to have to look for a tight end in the first, if not the second and third round, to fill that spot. Now, at the same time, Sean Payton can come out and put Taysom Hill at tight end, and
Well, yeah,
then
they have done that. They just run him as a flex tight end. But yeah, they
and
can do that too.
so that's the good thing about the Saints is they're like a Swiss Army knife. They have so many different tools that can help them that are interchangeable at the same time, right?
Yeah, I mean their roster is pretty solid. It's
It's a
probably the most solid in the league.
it's a very unique setup as well.
Yeah.
And coming from a different defensive point of view, if from another team, it's hard, in my opinion, to plan what type of strategy you're going to have against this team because they change it up every single game.
Right. They're very good at that. Sean Payton is very good at putting his guys in the right spots and game planning properly on the defensive side of the ball. He's a pretty damn good coach.
He really is. Um, Again, though, the biggest thing that we can both agree on is they've got to work on this cap space. They've got to do something to get their money under control because if not, they're going to join the ranks of Carolina and Atlanta in being a dumpster fire from here on out because of the fact they can't afford to pay anybody. Therefore, they can't have anybody good. And whenever you have your top stars like Michael Thomas or Alvin Kamara come up for free agency, do you think they're going to stick around for pennies? No.
No, I mean those guys are going to command big dollar contracts.
Right.
So I mean, Alvin Kamara again this season was the top fantasy running back in the league, and it wasn't even close.
Oh, the dude was a stud.
So yeah, you're going to have to pay that guy. There's just no way around it, man.
They've got Michael Thomas until 2025, and he becomes a unrestricted free agent then.
Yeah.
Trying to find Mr. Kamara right now. There he is. He is going to be a free agent in 2026. So they've got a little bit of time with those two. The likelihood of them restructuring those two contracts are probably pretty slim in my opinion. I could see Michael Thomas, if they try to force him into doing that, him sitting out and demanding a trade. So I don't know. The future for the Saints is a scary one, but I'm very eager to see how it is. To finish them up, I think I see them winning the division again, going to the playoffs, probably another 12-4 season, maybe even 11-5.
I mean, and like you said, that's with Drew Brees.
Yes,
If they don't have Drew Brees,
they're going to probably be.
They're probably they might have 4 wins, man.
I still put them pretty high if they don't have Breeze. I'll put them at 9-7.
9-7 with Taysom Hill as their quarterback.
Yep.
That's a tall order.
It is a tall order, but I believe a lot in that defense, and I believe in that run game, and I believe in Michael Thomas.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do like I like most of the players on their roster. I mean, we've already talked about how good their roster is. I think, if they can get a tight end in free agency, I don't even know who would be available. But if they could get a decent tight end in free agency, or they could draft the guy from Penn State. I can't say his name. It's Pat. God, I know it's spelled weird, and I don't know how to exactly pronounce it. Fryermuth. I think that's right.
It's a pretty baller name.
He is a freak of nature. He is a matchup nightmare. If the Saints would be able to get a player like that, that would be pretty awesome. Like I said, I feel like their biggest hurdle is, does Drew Brees come back and can they stay under the cap?
Notable tight end free agents: we got Hunter Henry, Rob Gronkowski, Kyle Rudolph, Jared Goff, not Jared Goff.
Is Rob Gronkowski really a free agent?
Doubtful. Since Tom's coming back, more than likely Tampa Bay takes them.
Right. I kind of feel like, you know how like certain pitchers in Major League Baseball, they want their certain catchers to catch them.
Oh yeah.
I kind of feel like he's his catcher. Like they're a battery mate. That's just the way they go together.
Well, we're on them already. Let's go ahead and finish up the division with Tampa Bay.
Well, you know, we've covered a lot of Tampa Bay's issues. So, I'm sorry. We've covered a lot of Tampa Bay's roster issues already, with Devontae David being a free agent and with Shaq Barrett coming up for free agency and Chris Godwin coming up for free agency. Basically, this team swung for the fences, signed a lot of free agents, won a Super Bowl. So now they're stuck with the Super Bowl hangover of trying to keep the team together, trying to keep everybody under contract and stay under the cap.
Yep. I don't see a repeat as much as people want to believe into the hype that Tom Brady being there again for another year is going to get them to another Super Bowl. Is it possible? Yes. Is it going to happen? No. 24 million.
I don't know.
24 million in cap space, but just to go on with the list of what you were saying with just free agents: Shaq Barrett, number one; Levante David, Rob Gronkowski, Ndamukong Suh, Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, LaShawn McCoy. Like, now, granted, LaShawn McCoy wasn't a major factor in it or anything like that, but I mean, there's a lot of players that they've got to take care of to get there again. And don't get me wrong, like, other teams are doing the same thing right now, right? That's what we've been talking about. So other teams that have to play them twice a year, like the Saints, are looking and going, okay, what do we need that's going to help us keep them out of the Super Bowl or being a team talked about, right?
Right.
But when you bring up their depth chart for 2021, the amount of red that you see on there is so unattractive. It's hard to believe. Even their special team, their place kicker is up. Their holder, their punt returner, their kick returner, like all of them are up for free agency. Like they need to go ahead and start figuring out, hey, Tom, are you going to play for food stamps? He'll probably say yes, but I mean,
honestly, he probably would. Yeah.
They need a lot right now.
And I think their GM already came out and said that he'd be happy to sign Tom Brady to another 3-year contract.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine him playing until he's 48?
If he makes it to 48, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to push it to 50.
Well, I mean, knowing him, right, as competitive as that dude is, yeah, he's going to try to play till he's 65. He's going to retire, and then he's going to be able to draw Social Security.
I'm wondering, though, you remember when Clemens came to Houston and won a Cy Young, and then the whole steroid thing came out? The dude was, how old was he? 40-something?
42 or 43, yeah.
Later down the road, after he retires, are we going to see something like that with Tom Brady? Like, this is outrageous that this cat is this old. Yeah, and balling out the way that he's playing, right? Now, don't get me wrong. It's not his best numbers to where it puts him in MVP status, but the dude is not showing major signs of a drop-off.
No, I mean, I think we saw this year was the first year that, like, his deep ball wasn't as accurate as we've been used to.
I blame that on the receivers.
Well, I mean, you can say that, but there were times where he overthrew Chris Godwin by 7 yards. There was another time where he couldn't throw the ball further than 25 yards accurately for a good quarter. So I saw a few signs of it, but I mean, he still won the Super Bowl. He still played at an incredibly high level. I mean, he's still probably the smartest guy on the field. So, I mean, there's that, that's definitely in his favor. I think that makes him, maybe he's the most dangerous quarterback in the league right now.
He has, for the past 5 years, since 2015, has thrown for over 4,000 yards. In
Yeah.
2016, I'm sorry, 2016, he only played 12 games and still threw for 3,600 yards, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's nothing showing that he is having a down year. What is it?
Yeah, stat wise, all the stats are there. But watching the games and the eye test, you can tell he's a different player than he was 10 years ago. I mean,
Absolutely,
obviously.
right?
So
I don't know, but back to the team. Like I want to get behind the hype of them going back again and winning it and this and that because it's Tom Brady, and Tom Brady lives at the Super Bowl pretty much, right?
right. I mean, yeah, he's been there. He's been there. What, 10 of the last 20 times he's been there.
I think there's too many teams in the NFC right now that smell blood in the water and
I'm with you.
are doing their damnedest to get
Take them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now it is again still very impressive for him to come from an AFC team to the NFC team and still dominate.
Yeah.
Right?
It's amazing to see someone just be like, all right, well, we don't want to play in the AFC, so let's just put all the teams in the NFC in a hat and we'll just draw one and then we'll go win a Super Bowl there.
Yep.
Right? Because the Buccaneers nobody even considered them a playoff team, right? I mean, it's the same thing. Like right now, we're thinking J.J. Watt went to Arizona to try to win a Super Bowl, and the team is not even close, right? But what if Tom Brady, like before Kyler Murray, what if Tom Brady just decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Arizona? Would we think that they were going to win the Super Bowl?
No.
Probably.
I don't know.
Well, no, I'm saying, like before he went to Tampa Bay,
I'm with you on that.
We didn't think they were a Super Bowl team at all, and then he went and won the Super Bowl. So what I'm saying is say tomorrow Tom Brady just says, you know what, I'm going to play for Miami next year. Are they winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
probably.
I get what you're saying
at this point.
It's weird though because of the fact that whenever he came over there and they started recruiting players and getting everybody, it almost seemed like a geriatric farm. Just because here comes now again, everybody puts it into the fact that Gronkowski's old. I guess when they hear the word retirement, they go ahead and automatically think he's a 47-year-old man.
He's 31.
He's 31, right? But also in the offseason, how his body transformation changed because he went from being super stocky to being super lean. And a lot of it, people say it had to do because he got behind the CBD product or whatever, and he quit working out and stuff like that. But once he said that he was going to play, he started getting back to Gronkowski status, right? Yeah. Then you see him get Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette, nobody was excited about because of the fact that he didn't really do much in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Then you see him get Antonio Brown, and everybody already goes, "Well, here we go again with fucking another story of Antonio Brown." Then they get LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy hasn't been a powerhouse since Philly, or even with I guess with the Bills, he had little flashes of moments here and there.
Yeah.
So you start breaking down the offensive side of the ball, and you're just like, is this really that impressive of a team, or are we just having these old guys come out?
We say, is it impressive? Yeah.
The name-wise, yes. The names that were there.
But even Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones, 23 years old, but he had almost 1,000 rushing yards on a team that kind of spread the ball around pretty evenly, So, yeah, I think that this team really is pretty good. I think, like I said, I think Ronald Jones kind of came into his own. There are, Mike Evans is a bona fide top 5 wide receiver.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think this team is actually pretty good.
Well, we know that now.
Well, but what I'm saying is I think Tom Brady milked every ounce of talent out of this team because that's just what he commands.
And again, listening to some of the players off the field on different podcasts or radio interviews or TV show interviews, they talked about how Tom Brady lit a fire under their ass. Like he came in there and for players in the NFL, they've been through every type of coach speech and every motivation and this
Yeah,
and
they've
that,
heard it all.
and it
Yeah.
becomes redundant. But then you have the greatest of all time join your team
Well,
and start saying things that put you in a different position, like a different feeling, and you're motivated and you're ready to die on the field for this man because of what
yeah.
he is bringing.
I feel like, Tom Brady shows up and it's like, oh shit. It's like your dad walked in. You know what I mean? Like you were fucking off and you were acting like an idiot and you were playing grab ass, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, here's the principal. Oh, I better be on my best behavior. And I feel like part of that was happening, and then also the other part was, man, I don't want Tom Brady to think I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I don't want him to think that, like, I'm not trying for him, because, like, he's 43 and he's probably going harder than anybody else on that team,
That is true.
And so the other guys are like, well, geez, I'm only 22. I'm like half his age. I need to step up. I need to play my ass off. And I feel like that happened. I mean, their defense, it looks like the average age of their defensive starter is like 24 or 25 years old. So, I mean, these guys are good, but they played outstanding football for an entire season, and then they stepped it up in the playoffs. It was an entire team effort. It almost looked like a Patriots Super Bowl victory.
Yep.
Everybody did their part. Everybody stepped up when they needed to make a play, and Tom Brady won in the damn game. I think his main goal for coming back, and I said it before, his main goal is to win a second Super Bowl. He wants to have two Super Bowl wins for multiple franchises, right? No other quarterback has ever done that. The only other quarterback that's ever even won a Super Bowl with another franchise, Peyton Manning.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know if you know this. I think most people do. They have a pretty heated rivalry. I mean, they don't hate each other by any means. Honestly, they're probably really good friends off the field. But in between those lines, there was an argument at a time, hey, you know what? Tom Brady will never be on Peyton Manning's level. Peyton Manning was a much better quarterback. And Tom Brady took that, and, on top of being drafted so late in the draft, you know what? I'm going to show you that I am on that level. I am one of those guys, and he's, to some people, according to you, I guess, he's surpassed that guy. But regardless, he's in that conversation. He is an all-time great. He is the end-all, be-all for quarterbacks right now. And, if he wants to hang him up, that's on him. If he wants to go win another Super Bowl, that's on him. Both of those things are in the realm of possibilities, and I'm just not going to doubt the guy anymore.
I agree with you on that. I want to say right now I don't see them going back to the Super Bowl, but again, this past season showed us otherwise. Is like you can't underestimate Tom Brady with any team, right? And it goes back to when he was with New England. He played on teams with a bunch of nobodies on there, and they still won the Super Bowl, right? So he is able to create a great team or a winning team.
He makes everybody around him better. That's for damn sure.
Right. I could almost bet that if he would have gone to the Cleveland Browns this past year, he probably could have taken them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind.
Right. So, final thoughts.
I mean, I would like to say I see them winning the division, but that's just because I feel like the other teams are going to step back. I don't think it's because of anything that they're going to do. I mean, they did finish 11-5, so they were just one game out anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like with Atlanta falling off, Carolina kind of being who they are. I would say Atlanta falling off. Atlanta just playing exactly like they did last year. Carolina doing exactly what they did last year. And New Orleans falling off, because I'm still in the camp that Drew Brees retires. I feel like it's Tampa Bay's division to win. And because of that, Tom Brady's not going anywhere. He's got a ticket to the playoffs again. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not betting against TB12 in the playoffs.
No.
So, I'm saying I'm going to go ahead and book their ticket for the NFC Championship game right now.
Oh, wow.
They're going to play Green Bay again.
Wow.
But I think this time Aaron Rodgers gets the best of them, and I think Green Bay goes to the Super Bowl. That's where I'm at for the NFC.
Well, mark that down in your little diary. Go ahead and put that
It's a journal, asshole, but whatever.
Whatever, it has flowers on it.
Definitely does have flowers. That's true.
And also, we have it recorded, so anytime we want to refer back to it, we can just go to it. I'll just make note of it that in the notes that you put it down as Green Bay going to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
I had fun with this one. Again, though, it was a lot of lackluster teams going into
Yeah.
this. Of course, like the history of the four teams has always been fun, and looking back at some of that stuff and seeing where they're at now and where they could potentially go. Of course, my favorites coming into this is the Saints. I want them to fix that cap money and get to the Super Bowl. If Drew Brees does come back this year, like you said, which I think he will, I want to see them go back to the Super Bowl. I want to see Old Man Brees win one more and then lay it down. The team is too damn good for them not to be anything else, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think obviously Tampa Bay is going to have something to say about it.
Absolutely.
I think Green Bay is probably the best team in the league, in the NFC. So I feel like that goes against Tampa Bay and it goes against the Saints. But we'll talk about them maybe not next time, but in two podcasts we'll cover the NFC North.
Yeah. So I had fun with it. You got anything else for it?
No, I think we're good. Next time we'll talk about your favorite division, the NFC East.
Let's do it.
So,
ladies and gentlemen,
that was pretty good, man.
Appreciate all y'all listening. Those of y'all who made it through this entire episode, we truly appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, go ahead and reach out to us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I don't even know what else is out there. YouTube, we're on all that.
We have the Yahoo email address, 2wannabeathletestalksports@yahoo.com. Send us a question, send us a gripe, send us a criticism, send us a positive message. Anything, man. We'll take all of it. We read everything that you guys send us. We read every post that you guys make. Just search 2 Wanna Be Athletes Talk Sports on any of your social media platforms. Even, we're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. Search for us, subscribe to us, listen to us. Keep us going, man. You guys are driving us. We reached almost 100 likes or 100 followers on Facebook. And we're like kids in a candy store, man. It's like Christmas Eve. Every day we check that stuff. We love every minute of it.
We truly do. And with this being a hobby podcast, y'all are motivating us each time more and more. We want to put out more content. We want to put out more episodes. Y'all are giving us awesome feedback on it, which we truly appreciate. Life comes into factor whenever we try to do these things. If we could, we would do this every single day for y'all. But like Zach said, if y'all want to gripe or tell us anything, please do. Don't hesitate. We take all criticism. And we're just having fun with this, and we're glad y'all are here for the ride with us.
Yeah.
So without further ado, Zach, till next time.
All right, man.
This is 2 Wanna Be Athletes Talk Sports. I'm Ed.
I'm Zach.
Adios, assholes.
Always the goat.
Oh, damn it.